I would definitely still consider myself a young car enthusiast. However, there are some things that I've definitely, I've matured. I would like to think I've matured in the aspect of being a car guy in some areas. And for example, I mean, especially one thing that I really don't care about anymore, well, I don't care about as much, especially, with the rising numbers of electric cars and just cars in general, performance in general these days, is speed. I really don't care that much about 0 to 60 or top speed anymore, like I did, when I was younger. I still do care about speed. I mean, when I'm, driving a faster car, than mine, and I put my foot down and I feel that speed and I feel the power, it's a nice feeling, and everyone gets a bit of a buzz out of a fast car. I mean, let's not lie here. The thing is, the novelty wears off pretty quickly, unless you're in a crazy fast car, in my opinion. In my opinion, I prefer driving a slow car fast, and I know that's become quite a popular saying these days, but that's because so many cars these days are so fast. Even your baseline economy cars now have pretty good 0 to 60 times. For example, a lot of electric cars have got crazy 0 to 60 time, and they're driven by normal people. It's not like it's pretty accessible now to get a fast car, is what I'm trying to say. And not only has faster cars become less impressive, it's also, I think the older you get, you're not as impressed by it in general anyway. As cliche as it sounds, it's about the feel of a car, it's about how a car drives, and to have a little bit of speed is nice, but to obsess about 0 to 60 and top speed, I just don't do that anymore. And I think a lot of car guys, when they mature, they care less about the stats, and they care less about the speed, and they care less about the top speed of the car, and they actually focus more about the little details and the way that car is unique. For example, one of the reasons why I love my MX-5 is because of the gearbox. It has one of the best gearboxes I've ever felt, and I just love how satisfying it feels to use. It's like a bolt action rifle, and obviously I love how playful the car feels. It's super light, and it's fun to throw around corners. Maybe I know this because I drive cars now, so I know what I like. Whereas when you're younger, when you're a little bit more immature, you've not really driven many cars, so you don't really, you've not experienced it yet. And I think a lot of it has to do with that, because before you actually drive a car, you have nothing, you don't really know how it feels. You don't really know how that car feels. You might only be driving your first car or no car at all. So the only thing you can judge cars off is the statistics. That's the only thing you can really go off. You've not actually driven that car yet, so you don't know what it's like to drive. You just think that, higher stats, it's faster, so it must be better, right? And the thing is, no, it's not. Just because it's faster does not mean it's better. But of course, that's the only thing you can go off before you actually experience and drive certain cars. So in a way, I do kind of understand it. Not just that, before you are able to drive these cars, you probably just play them on a game. So you don't know what it's like to drive. You just pick the one that's fastest to win all the races. Like, I know back in Forza, when I played Forza Horizon, I used to play it all the time, and I would just buy a car and just mod the hell out of it, make it as fast as I possibly can, because obviously having a crazy fast car was the goal, But now I'm older and I actually get to experience cars, I actually get to drive them and drive different cars. I've kind of learned what I like, it's the reason why I'm looking to get an E46 330 over a 240i, because I would rather have the old school analog feel. Yes, it's not as fast and maybe it won't be as reliable, but I prefer it. I prefer the older analog feeling cars, even though it's slow. Well, it's slow by today's standards, but that's a whole different conversation. I do just want to quickly say 90% of you guys are currently not subscribed, so please consider subscribing. It's free and you can always unsubscribe at any time. Anyway, back to the video. Talking about reliability though, one thing that you definitely start to care more about the more mature you get as a car enthusiast is reliability. As boring as it sounds, I know, reliability is probably not the most exciting topic, but you do start to really care about this the older you get. When you're younger, you obviously, you think you're going to buy a car and make it into some crazy modified thing. You're going to give it 1,000 horsepower and a big wide body kit and that kind of thing. Or you're going to turbo it up. You know what I'm talking about. Whereas now I have a lot less interest in doing that. Don't get me wrong, I would love to stick a supercharger on the MX-5 or do something like that, but I don't want to give it crazy amounts of horsepower, because it's going to make the car practically, it's my daily driver, because I don't want to make it unreliable. I guess if you had a project car and it was, just the weekend car, it wasn't really your daily driver, then yeah, I guess it wouldn't matter too much. Then you kind of, you're more comfortable modding it or buying a classic car where you're not going to have to, you're not going to have to rely on it every single day. But definitely the older I've got, the more I care about reliability. And it is boring. I know it's very boring. But the thing with reliability is when a car is broken down, when a car does not start, it doesn't work, that's a car you can't enjoy. It's a car you can't use. And more importantly, the most annoying thing about this is it's going to cost you a lot of money in the long run. It could be a cheap fix, but it's cars. You know, cars, they're never cheap, no matter what car you buy. One of the reasons why I bought my MX-5 was because I knew that they're pretty reliable cars and they're pretty cheap to own in general. Even then, my car is 20 years old. It's went wrong. Things have gone wrong, and they have cost quite a bit of money to fix. But when I was younger, I was like, yeah, I want to buy an RX-8 because it's faster than an MX-5 and it looks better. But now I'm quite happy with an MX-5. I would rather have a Mazda MX-5 over an RX-8. Would an RX-8 be more exciting? Yes, probably would. You know, would it be more fun to drive? Maybe. Is it faster? Definitely. And I mean, it's a rotary, so you know, it sounds nice. However, it's very unreliable, and I would rather have my Mazda MX-5 than a Mazda RX-8 because of that reason. Because I know when I want to go somewhere, if I want to go on a long road trip, if I want to, drive to the gym in the morning, it is going to start most of the time. And I think it's another thing of just not having a car yet, or not owning a sports car or project car yet. When you're younger and you just play Need for Speed or Forza Horizon, you buy cars, you mod them, it doesn't matter what car it is, and you don't care. Because it's a game, the car's going to start up every single time, unless it's my summer car. That game is very frustrating. But if you're playing Forza Horizon, Need for Speed, modding cars to 1,000 horsepower, you don't have to take reliability into account because, yeah, it's a game. However, when you do own your first car or your first project car or whatever, your first enthusiast car, and you start seeing how much things cost when they break, or just sometimes it's just frustrating fixing cars in general, then you start to realize, actually, you know what, I would much rather have a more reliable car than the one I wanted before. But caring more about reliability, definitely, it's a sign of maturing as a car enthusiast, in my opinion. One thing I always see younger car enthusiasts do, especially when they buy their first car, or just their first project car, it doesn't really matter, but especially when, they buy their first Honda Civic, it's the reason why you see cars like Honda Civics or Hyundai S-Coupes, I don't know, I'm just trying to think of, starter cars that people buy for cheap. They just modify them for the sake of it. They'll just stick carbon everywhere. They'll have the carbon wrap in the interior everywhere. They'll put some cheap, whatever this colour is, the fish oil, I don't even know what it is. They have them gear sticks and steering wheels and stuff. It looks so nasty. And they'll just choose the craziest colours on each component of the car. Like, they'll just basically mod it for the sake of it, pretty much. I kind of did this when I first bought my first car, which was my Honda Civic, but I think I did a kind of tasteful modification. I put a Mishimoto gear stick on it, and I did put a Type R badge on the back, but we won't speak about that. But I do think a lot of racers, usually it's their first car and they just want to modify, they just want to do everything to it. They kind of get a little bit too excited, so they just start looking up the cheap mods that are just, cosmetic mods basically. And it'll be like, some, what I'm talking about, the fake sport, the fake intakes, like just stuff like that. And by the end of it, it just looks like a mess. Like it's just, it never ends well. And I know a lot of people who went through this phase. It's funny because, I did used to look at these mods to do to my car, these cheap nasty mods, and my dad would always just say, just put the money towards another car, to a car that you'd actually be happy modifying, which is what I did. That's why I bought the Miata. That's why now I have the MX-5. And realistically, I mean, the only mods I've done to the car are very minimal. I've not really done too much to it. But yeah, I just think, you buy your first car, you see all these modified cars on Instagram and the internet in general, but yeah, you don't really have the money, but you get all excited, so you just start putting on all of these modifications, and yeah, it never ends up looking good. And I just think the older you get, the more you mature as a car enthusiast, the modification side of things impresses you less and less, and you just don't feel like you have to just throw on these pointless mods for the sake of it. You actually save up the money and spend the money on making your car look nice and how you want it to look, instead of just buying, carbon fiber wrap and just wrapping your dash carbon fiber or something stupid like that. It's weird because I always thought I would heavily modify my cars, but I really like the look of OEM Plus, which is a new term that's been thrown around a lot at the minute. If you don't know what OEM Plus is, it's kind of hard to explain actually, but it's basically giving your car a high spec if it wasn't high spec before, if that makes sense. I think in my best effort to explain it, it's like buying a car brand new, speccing it to the highest spec possible, But obviously, you know, you can't buy it brand new anymore because it's now second hand. So you buy all of the high spec options and features afterwards, and then you add it on yourself. That's the best way I can explain it. I don't know if that made any sense though. But yeah, I'm actually a really big fan of OEM Plus because not only does the car look quite clean, it's still stock, but it looks slightly modified still, in my opinion. I also like the fact that when you go to resell the car, because it is technically stock or OEM Plus, it's a higher spec, you know, so you could probably still earn a good amount of money from it. So it kind of ticks all the boxes. I mean, the only bad part about OEM Plus is finding parts can be very difficult, especially body kits. You know, I mean, I'm trying to find a Tupperware body kit for my MX-5 and it's impossible. I could technically buy a fake one and respray it and then put it on my car, but I want the real one. I know it sounds really stupid. Maybe I should just buy a fake one, but let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Also, make sure to leave a like and subscribe if you are new, because I do very much appreciate it. I would love to hit that 2,000 subscriber mark before March, so please help me get to that goal. I'd really appreciate it. I will make sure to see you all very soon. I will see you in the next one.